This is Success in Excess, where elite founders, lawyers, and clinic owners engineer success through strategy, scale, and systems. Powered by GrowthX.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Success in Excess, the show where vision meets infrastructure and high-impact law firms scale with purpose, not chaos. This episode is powered by GrowthX, America's #1 law firm marketing agency, and today's guest is a powerful example of that kind of legacy-focused leadership. Trish Butcher is the founder of Arch Legacy Firm, based in Georgia. Since launching in 2020, her team has served over 750 families, earned 150 five-star reviews, and is on track to do over $2 million this year. This isn't just legal services that she's doing. This is a legacy planning structure, scale, and soul all put together. Let's get into it for today's episode. Trish, your journey in estate planning wasn't driven by strategy. It was sparked by something much more personal. As a gym owner and a new mom, you weren't really planning to become a lawyer, but after watching, various families, having to navigate the long probate process and other aspects, really what got you to start the firm in 2020 to really turn it what it is in the powerhouse today?
Yeah, so thank you, and thanks for having me. So I was already actually a lawyer. I represented 8,000 physicians for the Medical Association of Georgia. But then I could not handle Atlanta, couldn't handle the traffic, moved back to my hometown of Athens. So I was working as of counsel for a small firm in Augusta. And I owned an all-women's gym. I'm just very passionate about fitness. But my son was born in 2019. So I think as a lot of new parents, we start thinking about wills and guardianship and all of that. So obviously my son was a big impetus for that. But the bigger story that kind of happened in my family kind of simultaneously with all of this is that my grandmother, who was a self-made woman, a real estate investor, and a professor at the University of Georgia, she passed away right as I was graduating from college. And then her husband, my step-grandfather, passed away 6 years later. And basically, when my grandmother passed away, we realized that her wills had been changed past mental capacity. So it's fraudulent. It's not allowed, but it happens, unfortunately, a lot more than you think. And then when my step-grandfather passed away, we really realized the full extent that the estate had been changed. My dad ended up in probate court for over 4 years and paid over $200,000 in probate attorney's fees. So, and as an attorney, I was like, okay, well, how did that happen? My grandmother had an estate plan. How did it epically fail? And we realized that this happens a lot more than people think, and that wills don't really accomplish what people think they accomplish. And so that was kind of our journey into starting the law firm. So we actually started it in February of 2020, me and my sister. So I'm the attorney and my sister was the paralegal, and then we were everything else. Split it down the middle. So got started right before the pandemic hit, actually.
Wow. So not only was the firm built out of, I guess you could call it a family crisis, but then even more beautiful, it came together, was reassembled after the crisis, and now you launched a beautiful law firm with your sister. You guys, share the positions, share the systems, and now you're growing something that not only is a family firm, but affecting all the families around you, and for the better, of course. Dealing with probate can be one of the most difficult and arduous times in most families' lives, because there's a lot of things going on in that time, especially when you're dealing with, a contested will that if it was fraudulent prior to that, it makes things even worse. And the last thing you want to do in that time is to have tainted memories of your loved one, to have to go and fight back and forth with the remaining loved ones that are still alive over things, and nobody wins at the end of the day. Really, nobody wins. You spend $200,000 in probate court, the government takes it. It's a drop in the bucket to them, but it's literally destroying families from the inside out. And I think, and personally, guys, as an estate attorney, Trish, what you're doing is probably one of the most compassionate, most personal type of work in the legal field, because you guys are sometimes the glue that keeps families together. When they're dealing with so much trauma, so many issues, matriarch of the family has passed away. There's a lot of transitions going on in that time. The last thing people need to do is have a debate on who gets what goes where, when it gets dissolved, and is it fair? Like, that's the real question. Is it fair? And the world isn't fair. So people utilize attorneys like yourself to make it as fair as possible in a time that is absolutely devastating. So, you assembled your team outside of your sister. You guys are working moms, legal professionals who just brought compassion, disciplines, and literally flexibility to the front line of the law firm. The culture shows the way that they serve. Arch Legacy isn't transactional, it's relational. Whether it's special needs planning, young professionals, or elder law, every client leaves with a sense of clarity, protection, and dignity. And with events like Tacos and Trusts and regular seminars around proactive planning, Trish has turned community education into a growth channel. Now, what are you guys currently doing that you would say, you know, outside of the webinars, outside of, you being an avid, bourbon fan, what are you guys doing that really is standing out in the community that we can say, hey, Arch Legacy Firm is who you go to make sure that your legacy stays intact, that your family's foundation is solid, and that you can trust and have the confidence and the peace of mind that as you go into the next cycle of life, that your loved ones and family is taken care of.
So we are a team of moms, and I think that's a very different look than most law firms. I think when most people think of lawyers, they think of middle-aged men in suits, and I haven't worn a suit, and I can't even tell you how long. So we definitely come at it from a very different approach. Above and beyond that, a lot of it's education. When I tell people about estate planning and I explain it to them and I explain the options, they are always like, well, why didn't I know this was an option? Why didn't so and so tell me? Why didn't this attorney tell me? Why have I only heard of wills? And so it's really educating them about living trust versus wills and the different options out there to like make things as easy as possible for the family. Um, and a lot of attorneys don't do that. They don't have the bandwidth for it. They do fill in the blank wills on the side. They, specialize in other areas of law. And so it's really being able to focus on estate planning that gives us the ability to really niche down in that and to educate the community better and make sure that they really do fully understand the options. So it's really just making sure that we educate the community, and then when they do come in and plan with us, we uphold all of our promises to them. We want our clients to all leave very satisfied. And so a lot of our clients come from word of mouth, come from referrals. There's a local Facebook group where anytime anybody asks for an estate planning attorney, it just blows up with recommendations for us. And it's always, it's so flattering and I love it. And it's really indicative of the fact that we really go above and beyond to try and help our clients. And that is really our goal. I'm not here selling paper. I want to make sure that whatever we put in place for them is actually going to work on the back end and that we're there to support their family on the back end as well. So no added attorney's fees down the road. Once they pay us up front, they can call us, email us. We're never going to hourly bill them, and we're there to support their family on the back end. So we really do become their trusted advisor for life.
Wow. You guys are really making an impact, and I can tell like you're passionate about what you do, and not nickeling diming them and charging them back again and again and again shows that your commitment is just far beyond the transactional, where you guys are trying to be a staple in the community and maintaining that the community continues to flourish generation after generation, and even unfortunately even after you're gone. And that's really when people are making um, a real impact on the world around them. It's not about how much money you make. It's not about how much, how many houses you buy or what you leave at the end of the day. Personally, success can be measured in so many various ways. Trish, you found success in finance. Obviously, your firm is growing, exponentially. You found success in being a real human being by helping other people through their toughest times. You found success as a legal expert because we already know you're one of the best in the field. These are the real monuments of success that we measure. And most importantly, your firm, Arch Legacy Firm, and your name, Trish Butcher, is going to be talked about for years to come because those families that you've helped, the next generation that is supported, that may be able to pay for their college, that may have a family estate or firm that's passed down over the years. It's going to be your name and your firm on those documents that are supporting it, that are standing in court, that are continuing to have its effect and strength locked in for 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 years. I mean, these are the type of things that we really look at when we ask, has this person really been a figure in the community, and have they really impacted people's lives around them? And that's just an amazing aspect. Now, you mentioned a couple of points, Facebook group, referrals. What is it that your firm currently is doing in the marketing aspect that you could say has helped for its scalability? Obviously, getting estate clients is not easy. Probate clients, obviously, that's a little bit opportunistic. You got to wait for somebody to pass, and then, you can't really time that. Estate, trust, and wills. So really, what are some of the marketing methods that has worked for you guys in recent years, and what didn't work? I mean, you've been around for 5 years. You guys basically kicked it off during the digital transformation age for law firms. So I'm assuming that you guys are hyper focused in the digital aspects and probably have the best of the best in all that it has to serve. So tell us.
So, really, I guess I started out by just pounding pavement. When I started my law firm, I often refer to the gym that I owned as my on the ground MBA. I learned a lot from it. It was successful, but it wasn't, hugely successful, but it wasn't a failure. And I learned a lot from it. And so when I started my firm, I knew that like really getting involved in the community was a really big part of that. I'm a native Athenian, so I am born and raised in Athens, which is, different and helpful. But actually, my firm is right outside of Athens in Watkinsville. And so getting involved in the Watkinsville community. So I joined the Chamber of Commerce's. I became an ambassador for the Oconee Chamber of Commerce. We won Business of the Quarter 3 years in a row, and then last year won Business of the Year. So that was really exciting. And so just really pounding pavement and getting to know people and explaining what we do, why it's important, and how we're different is a big aspect of that. Moving forward from that, like I mentioned, educating the community is a really big deal for me. And so we started holding seminars. As you mentioned, I'm a bourbon enthusiast. I don't drink it that often anymore, but I happen to know a lot about it, and I do really like bourbon. So we started hosting an educational event called Whiskey and Wills, and we do a top shelf bourbon tasting where I actually kind of go over the history of bourbon, um, and then we and then from there we I do an estate planning presentation. I always joke, I'm like, look, if we're going to talk about dying, I might as well liquor you up a little bit first. um, but so through those seminars, that's really where we started really getting our message out and our name and that education piece. And so the seminars have been so helpful. Marketing for those, we started out with direct mailers. We did direct mailers. They were pretty successful, but extremely expensive. And so to get that ROI that you're looking for with direct mailers, you have to have a really good turnaround rate. But we had a great return with them. And we're probably usually averaging between an 8 to 10 times return on investment for those events, even with the direct mailers. What happened is last year at the beginning of the year, UPS decided to, instead of all of the mail being sent through Athens, they decided to change that and send it all through Atlanta.
Oof.
And when they did that, the direct mailers actually completely stopped hitting mailboxes. So we'd be paying $4,000 for direct mailers, and they would never hit the mailboxes ever.
What?
Really? So yeah, so we lost a lot of money, and all of a sudden our events that had been so popular and so full were totally empty. So we had to quickly pivot, and we started advertising via Facebook. that, as I'm sure you know, Facebook ads are very complicated. So we did use a company to help with Facebook ads at first, and so we had to completely 180 pivot to Facebook and really start niching down on our audience from there. Thankfully, Facebook ads have continued to work for us. We now do them in house, and we are able to still drive a good number of people to our webinars and our seminars. We now do Whiskey and Wills and Tacos and Trust. So we're currently doing 2 seminars a month and 2 webinars a month. And so now, really, it's still primarily word of mouth. Still that networking aspect. I'm on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce now. I've been on several nonprofit boards over the years. But then Facebook ads, driving them to our events is a lot of like our paid marketing and how we get people just familiarized with our firm and estate planning and make sure they realize how important it is.
Awesome, awesome. So, you know, you're on the cutting edge. Webinars right now, especially via LinkedIn or even through your own web platform, has taken off, especially for professional services such as yourself. It used to be something that people used to do for like lead gen or coaching, things like that. But we found that when you're running a professional service like yourself, that have a highly professional, highly informed, highly knowledgeable buyer set, where we're not looking, you're looking at people that have had careers, that have assets, that have lived a life of high functioning, and now they're looking to protect those assets for the future. You get a very informed buyer. And one of the things that informed buyers do is, like any informed buyer that's smart, they want to look at what the product is. They want to see how it works. They want to see what it's going to take with them leverage wise. What is the actual mechanisms involved to make sure this product works. And when you find more informed buyers, you see that they require more information, right? They want to know the data behind it. They want to know what you're doing, how you're doing, where's all this going to go? What are the plans for after it? And, webinars are absolutely probably one of the best marketing fields that you could do for it. Facebook ads as well. We've had quite a lot of success in the past. We've got about 3 years. We've been able to help our clients acquire, like I said, over $1 billion and estimated value for estates. Now, with that, we found that a lot of traction works. If you're targeting the traditional ICP, which is generally around 55 and up, household income of at least 150,000 plus, generally with kids, they own a home, and at that point, what we see is, Hulu as streaming is very successful because most homes that have a higher per capita income pay for streaming services, and they spend more time watching TV in their home because they can afford it. They have a nicer setup, and we see that the traction really resolves very well. Facebook is also very good when it comes to doing impression ads. Conversions, not so much unless you're running a webinar and then trying to drive it through there. And then obviously you have the main bucket is those Google ads. But definitely, outbound marketing with LinkedIn is absolutely, one of the most important aspects because you can target those high net worth earners right then and there, build that communication line. You're not selling anything. You're saying, hey, you know, love to show you what we can do in estates. Maybe it can give you some information, put you on the track to, in the future, if you need a trust, will, anything of that nature. And the conversions are extremely high. In fact, yesterday I was at a CEO roundtable with a gentleman that was talking about doing deferred benefit plans and estates and trusts. And majority, there was about 60 people in there. Of the 60 people in there, about 50 of them were, high net worth earners around over 50 years old. And it really helps. So you guys are on that cutting edge. You know what you're doing. And, building it in-house is absolutely important, especially when you're trying to make a real impact. Now, what is the future for the firm? Like, where do you see yourself in a couple of years? What's the goals for you? I'm assuming that you have some pretty big goals that you're going to achieve. Tell us about it.
So, I mean, our plan is, if you know anything about Georgia, there's Atlanta and then there's the rest of Georgia. I do not market directly to Atlanta. I do get a lot of clients from Atlanta. We're about an hour outside of Atlanta. And so I guess it depends on if you're asking me or my husband. So my husband joined the firm last year as our CFO, retired him from corporate America. And so he's our lone dad of the group of moms. And so we our goal is probably to, I would say my goal is to, be one of the most well-known estate planning law firms in North Georgia. My husband, he'll tell you that his goal is to take all of Georgia. I don't know about that, so we'll see. But really, in all honesty, our goal is to help as many families as we can help. It's just there's lots of families that need this. There's lots of families that know nothing about this. And so in reality, our goal is just to help as many families as we possibly can. I can't tell you how many clients come in and meet with me and they met with another attorney 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and that attorney gave them such awful advice. So honestly, a lot of what we're doing is fixing what other attorneys have messed up because they don't know better, because they don't specialize in estate planning. And they're just, using this as a filler while they pursue bigger, areas of law. So a lot of the smaller towns don't have the ability. An attorney can't open an office there and only specialize in estate planning and be successful. So they don't have that option. So really, the idea is to expand to those towns as well, and with potentially satellite offices, or remote services, and be able to help those towns, and kind of circle Atlanta. Not overly worry ourselves with Atlanta. So that's kind of the goal. We have a law firm in Gainesville that we might end up merging with in a couple of years as well. My mentor, as he seeks his exit strategy. So that would really be kind of like, the opener for really kind of taking over that market share in North Georgia.
Wow. Okay. So what I heard from that is, you actually do want to take over Georgia, but you want to do it in a very strategic way, which makes perfect sense. And you guys are in that position, and you touched on a point that's extremely sensitive but valid. Most firms that handle estate law do it as a sub practice, and it's not their specialty. And what happens is you end up getting a guy that's a jack of all trades because they're in a small town where, let's be realistic, there's not that much volume of cases. You probably have a mix of criminal, some domestic, some family, and then you got some estate, and it's very small all around. And you got a guy, he may charge a little bit amount of money, but you're getting what you pay for. And the problem in that is you're not really getting the protection you need. And in nowadays consumer market, as informed as people are, people need to realize, Google, Chat GPT, all these, they're not going to give you the answers you need because it's not a human. It may give you some facts, but an attorney like Trish understands the fine nuances. She went through it with her own grandmother, grandfather, looking at that situation. She understands like what happens when you're not properly prepared, when you think you're properly prepared, what the outcome can be, how devastating the cost can be. And there's a lot of people that want to do it cheap out here. Hey, I'm gonna send ChatGPT to fill out my plan and it'll get me protected, but it doesn't understand the fine nuances on, if the judge is not happy today, what is the extent of the damages they can incur? Or what is the timeline with court systems and insurances and creditors? It's nothing is done immediately, and that time being held up in court 4 years, 5 years, 3 years is a financial drain on anything that you're trying to utilize. And that's why we suggest going to a hyper focused firm like yours. Arch Legacy Firm is, yes, you guys are in Watkinsville, you guys, have a standing in Athens, but the most important fact is you specialize in this. And if you have assets, and I would tell anybody, if you have actually assets, you have a home, you have, money in the bank, you have loved ones, and if it's exceeding, let's say 250, 500,000 and more, it's important to pay those couple $1,000s and talk to a hyper focused specialized firm like Arch Legacy Firm so you can actually preserve your legacy in future. Guys, don't be penny wise, pound foolish. Like, you get that all the time. I personally have people in my family that, own 10, 20 different businesses that are very successful, way after the mark of millionaires. And if you even approach them with going to a financial advisor or an estate attorney or anybody to, set up your systems correctly, like trusts and wills, to avoid taxes and stuff like that, so you're doing it smart, they won't even listen to the subject. They won't even hear it. And the thing is, you know that, hey, this is inevitable, guys. Everybody's going to die. I'm sorry to say this, but everybody's going to die. And when you die, the one thing that's not going to die is taxes and Uncle Sam. He's never dying, right? He's always going to collect his share, going to get his piece. And if you're not set up correctly, if your loved one is sick, if you get caught up in probate after death, if anything, and not just that, don't think about just yourself. If you pass away before your loved one, like your partner that you spent your whole life with, you put them in a precarious situation. I knew a gentleman recently who passed away that was very affluent, very well off, and his wife, her health was declining, and she thought that she was well set up and put in a good position, and now she's had to dissolve most of her assets, can't pay for medical bills. Basically, they take everything you got before they start covering what you have if you're not properly set up. This is not a talk of, hey, this is the best thing for you in a sense of, you can save some money. No, this Arch Legacy Firm and what Trish Butcher does is, when saying preserving your legacy, she saves your family at the end of the day. She doesn't save you money, she saves you everything, right? Because they're going to take everything they can. Because if you understand the costs, like an average person getting cancer that isn't well set up, the drain on that, you can have $2 million and have that drained in less than a year. Simple as that. The average nursing home for somebody that's just moderately sick can be anywhere between $8,000 to $12,000 on average per month. Guys, that's 144,000 plus a year just on that, not including anything else. I mean, realistically, understand the severity of what could be and how you can mitigate all these problems by making a simple phone call to Arch Legacy Firm and firms like hers. If you're in Georgia, Trish Butcher is the number one estate planning attorney you can go to. She's going to be there for you. Her firm has expanded so well in the past 5 years that most firms have never been able to do that. And that's a testament to her character, the team that she set up, and the leadership values that she follows day in and day out. Guys, we're coming close to the end of our episode. Trish, I want to ask you a couple of questions in our lightning round. Very simple, very relaxed, just very low key. The next step is, tell us what you do after a hard work week. How do you really relax and settle down?
Well, I mean, my go-to place is to go down to Amelia Island every chance I can. But basically, my husband and I have been working really hard to turn our own home in Athens into our own retreat. So I actually, we have a really nice gym inside of our house, but I have a spa room. So I have a very large infrared sauna and a vibration plate that helps your lymphatic system. I've always been really big into health. So I love my spa room and journal, do my gratitudes, talk to God some. I wouldn't be here without him. And then we're in the process of building our dream deck and a hot tub on the back. So I bought my childhood home. So gradually over time, we've been taking it out of the 90s. Love my mom, but our tastes are not the same. And so we've been renovating it and turning it into our dream home. But honestly, I love a good bath. I love reading. I do not read any series. If I'm reading a book for enjoyment, I am not reading a serious book. I read enough serious stuff. So I'm reading romantasy or smut books or whatever, and I don't care. I love it. It's what relaxes me. And I talk about dying day in and day out. So honestly, that's what I do. And then also I have a 6-year-old son. So he drags me around everywhere and he has endless amounts of energy. So I love spending time with him. And my workout yesterday was just jumping on the trampoline with him. Um, so he's a lot. But yes, it just being with my family and relaxing and taking care of myself and my health and reading books that are not serious at all.
Yeah, we do enough reading from day to day. I think sometimes, your mind needs a rest from that seriousness and kind of just expand the other side of the brain and its imagination and push forward. So you're from Georgia, and I know a lot of our audience probably believes the stereotype of, Southern cooked food. What's your favorite food that you like to eat? Not when it comes to healthy, so I'm not talking about counting calories or carbs. What's your favorite indulgent food?
I mean, other than a hot chocolate chip cookie right out of the oven. Um, so my husband's family calls it the Holy Trinity, and I fall right into it. I love it, and this is going to be about as southern as it gets. But fried chicken, mashed potatoes, butter beans, cream corn, and homemade biscuits.
Oh man,
Yeah.
uh, it's about lunchtime now. I wish I could get that. Okay, okay. Well, guys, lightning round's over. Today's episode is all about preserving your family's legacy, making sure that your loved ones are safe even after you've passed on to the next life. And people like Trish are those guards in our life to make sure that that transition and that family stays intact, preserved, safe, and financially sound, even after the patriarch, the matriarch, or the pillars of the family have transitioned over. This is what she does day in and day out. She's the best that has ever done it currently. She's well known across the state. She's won various awards. Her firm is expanding exponentially. I mean, you look at the numbers, she's in the top 1% of 1% of top performing legal minds in the country. She's taking Georgia by storm. Thank you so much for Trish for being on the episode today. Our audience at Success and Excess is going to be delighted to hear this. And remember, guys, if you need to reach out to Trish at Arch Legacy Firm, how can we reach out to you?
So our website is just www.archlegacyfirm.com. I guess it proves that I'm a millennial because I say the www. But the Arch is named after the UGA Arch. So I always just tell people think of UGA, and that's where the name comes from. And then info at archlegacyfirm.com, or just Google us. We're on there. I think right now we have over 225 5-star reviews. And then today, actually, we literally just hit $1 million in revenue for the first time, and we're in July. So we're really excited. It really means that we're able to help so many more families. We're now a team of 4 attorneys and a team of 10 total, and we're hiring, hopefully, fingers crossed, our 11th employee soon. So it's been a journey, and it's been a lot of fun, and just got to keep helping more families and keeping them out of what my family experienced, out of court and conflict.
Absolutely. Today's Christmas in July for Trish,
Yeah,
right? It's
for
the
sure.
25th. She crossed over the $1 million mark. She's doing almost double than she did last year, guys. This is the true success, true scalability, and most importantly, what you heard from her wasn't, I'm going to go buy a boat, I'm going to go do this. She's talking about hiring another employee to make sure that scalability is most importantly sustainable. And that's what GrowthX focuses on. If you're a law firm really looking to scale, really looking to expand your vision and your presence and your market dominance, GrowthX has generated over $100 million in results. We've managed over $10 million in ad spend, and we've helped over 50 law firms surpass the 7-figure mark annually. Our goal is to help you preserve your firm, help the community by helping you grow exponentially. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at growthxmarketing.ai. If you love today's episode, subscribe, give us a 5-star review. The links are below if you need to get in contact with Arch Legacy Firm and Trish Butcher. Until next time, guys, stay smart, focus on scaling, but always remember to be sustainable. Thank you, guys, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Own your growth. Scale with systems powered by GrowthX. Subscribe to Success in Excess for those who lead with precision and scale with purpose.